Yo, what's going on, everybody? There in YouTube land.
What's going on? What's happening, everybody?
I'm with Carlos from Los Comics. We're going to do a round of buy, sell, and hold today. I picked out about 10 or so books, mostly key issues we're going to go over, and we're going to give our opinion if we think they're a buy, sell, or a hold. Should be pretty interesting because I thought I picked some big-time books that are kind of really crazy in price right now. So you guys let me know what you think down in the chat. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. It was a little crazy morning, but got through it, and now I'm ready to talk about some comic books.
Awesome. So for everybody out there, this is the first time I've had somebody on the channel. Thank you, Carlos, for coming on, man. This is awesome to have you here.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Hopefully we get to do more of these. I just cracked 1,000 subscribers. So I want to say before we get started, thank you to everyone out there who subscribed. If you haven't checked out Carlos's channel, I suggest you guys do because he's always throwing out some good stuff out there. He's got some amazing collection of 9.6 books out there. If you guys haven't checked out one of his latest videos, it's freaking awesome. So get on that if you can, man, because you got some really great stuff. As you could see from his wall there, that the first thing my eye went to is that Avengers 4 signed up there. So
yes.
All right, man.
That was a good book for me. That was a big book that I wanted to get, and when I got it signed by Stan Lee, it was one of the books that I wanted to get him to sign something that he actually did. Right? I mean, I'm not shaming anybody who gets a book signed by Stan Lee or whatever just because they want to get a Stan Lee sig. But I wanted to get a book that he actually wrote, that he had something to do with it. And because you see New Mutants 98 and stuff like that, and it's signed by Stan Lee. I'm like,
I agree.
Yeah, I get it, right? I understand why you want to do it, but he had literally nothing to do with Deadpool at that moment in time. That nothing. He was an editor. He wasn't nothing by then. So for me, it's like I wanted to hand him something that he personally wrote. This is a story that he wrote, and that's what I wanted. So I got that and the Journey into Mystery 112, the first Thor and Hulk battle, 2 stories that he actually wrote, and I wanted him to sign those. So that was a big moment for me to actually have him sign that, shake his hand, tell him thank you for everything he's done and stuff. So it was a good time. It was a good memory.
That's awesome. That is one thing that I've always regretted, not being able to meet Stan in person. So that hats off to you because I'll never have that now, obviously. But that's a moment. Forget for the book, just that's a moment you'll always remember. Yeah. So
definitely.
All right, you ready for the first book?
I hope so.
All right, here we go.
Woo!
All right, let's see. Yeah. I'm going to let you start with this one. Can you see it up there?
Yeah. Okay. So this, I know this book all too well. I actually sold 2 of these, and I sold them way too early. So, but no, I think this book right now, with the first trailer coming out, the hype came back for it, and the story is okay. It's a little out there if you ever read it. It's a little much to digest, but it's an interesting story to read, and but it's definitely a good book if you have it now. I would say probably if it's graded, a nice high grade copy. I want to say because the movie comes out I think later in the year, right?
I think January. I think that
it's sometime. Yeah, I want to say it's sometime later in the year. It's in that whole bunch of movies that come out in like October, November, December, like straight through. But I want to say if you potentially hold probably until about that second trailer that comes out, because there will be another one that gives you a little more into it, because the first one kind of got the hype going. I think they do a second one. Might be the time to do it. I wouldn't sell it after the movie. I'd sell it before if you're gonna do it, because it's a good book. Again, it's one of those things where it's not a property that a lot of people know about. I think they're trying to bank on the whole Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of taking people by surprise. I feel like it's gonna be good, but if you want the most bang for your buck, if you are planning on selling this book, I would say wait for probably that second trailer. You'll probably see another spike, and then that's when you want to move it. If you're planning on buying this thing, Honestly, I mean, you might have to buy this thing like after the movie or when there's like a little lull. So maybe right now, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, you might have it might have passed you by already.
Yeah.
But yeah, this might be a good time if you're looking to sell this book. This might be a good time to like now to like that second trailer time frame. You might see a nice little spike in this book.
So you're still saying hold, or you saying sell? You're saying hold, I would say, right?
I'm saying hold for now. Give it maybe another month. See if there's another trailer that comes out, and that second trailer, if they give you a little more, especially if they give you like the Shang-Chi kind of trailer where they give you like an abomination throw in or something, one of those little crazy things where they throw in a young Thanos or something like that. This book will definitely skyrocket again. It already took off, but it will definitely take off one more time, and you'll get that best bang for your buck. So hold now, and then kind of wait for that second trailer, and then. But I would not sell it anything past that. Like, don't wait for right before the movie. Don't wait till after the movie. Sell it before. Always sell it during the trailer time when the biggest hype is around. Because once there's talk, and if the movie is not the greatest, that book is going to kind of tumble. So if you're looking to sell this book, and I don't think this is a very hard book to come by. You can find it, relatively. It's in the wild. I mean, both books that I found were in flea markets. Wow. Yeah, you can find them. They're out there. But yeah, I mean, eBay is not a good place to look if you're gonna try to get this. But I would say hold for now, wait for that second trailer, and then that's when you want to make that bang.
I tend to agree with you. I would almost lead to sort of selling it only because you're right. Like you don't know with that second trailer. If they give you something that you're not expecting, you're gonna see another pop. Yep. Same with the movie. If you're gonna see something that you're not gonna expect once you see the film, you'll get a pop. But if you don't, and like, it's not Spider-Man. It's nobody knows this. Nobody knows these characters. You brought up a good point with Guardians of the Galaxy. Nobody knew who they were. Mm-hmm. But the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first appearance, I know none of those guys were actually in that first appearance, but that book didn't go anywhere either. So that's what worries me. Like you, I sold this book way too early. I had this at a 9.2, and I sold it once they announced like there was going to be a movie. I sold it, and I should have waited. But regardless, I think it's a sell now or a hold and then sell quickly once you get some kind of pop.
Oh,
that's
definitely.
it.
Definitely.
We're not going out.
Like you said, I don't see it going. Don't go past like that second trailer, right? Maybe the hype is still good there now. You can sell it now, or wait for that second trailer and then kind of sell. But don't wait right before the movie. Don't wait till after the movie, or don't wait during the movie. Because you're gonna lose out on some money. So especially if things are people are anticipating something and it doesn't happen, it's definitely going to tank. So
don't be listing the book during the film on eBay. Oh, it sucks. I gotta get it out of here. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on that one. That was a tough one because I never heard of the Eternals. I never read the Eternals till the announcement came out, and then I kind of. You're right. It isn't like it might not be for everybody type of story. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how they're going to do this and how they're going to bring these guys in and fit it to what they've already done.
Exactly, especially being that they're supposedly like the beginning of everything, right? And like, okay, well, how do you guys fit into all this, and where were you guys at during all this craziness? So it'd be interesting to see. And like I said, if people don't like that and they don't like the continuity of how they fit it in, that book is gonna kind of,
exactly.
And if you want to buy, that's the time to buy is when it kind of goes down.
Exactly, but you saw like the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I thought that was a great point. Like. That movie, it was very funny. People were into the characters. So if they do that with this movie, then you never know. It could be, it could be a steal.
And they do have the cast is amazing. It looks like they have a great cast. So if they have a nice script and it works and the cast meshes well together, I mean it could be a great movie. And that book can take off even more. But I mean if you bought in low on that book, now to like that second trailer would be the time to sell it and probably get your most money.
All right. You ready for number 2?
Let's do it.
All right. I got some controversial stuff here. So at least in my opinion, it's controversial.
Okay.
Here we go. Now I say controversial because I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, or maybe I'm in the minority of everybody in the world, but this book was like a $50 book, $75 book for forever. And all of a sudden, Disney puts out on Disney Plus all the new Star Wars stuff, and this book goes bananas.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start. To me, like not being a Star Wars fan, and this book was so cheap, like dirt cheap, and now it's like in high grade, it's thousands of dollars to me.
Oh yeah.
I would have sold it and taken my money and ran. That's just me. I think this is a sell. I think starting to see some of them kind of drop now, but not crazy drop, but still dropping.
Yeah. This is I think this one is, this one is definitely a nostalgic kind of deal. It's one of those things where, like, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, this is a book that you definitely need to have, right? But it's tough for, like, that casual collector who just wants to, like, maybe collect keys or something like that. The book has become unattainable, and like you said, it was a relatively cheap book. I mean, you used to get a high grade copy for $100, 150, a nice raw high grade copy, and then all of a sudden, they started putting out all the Star Wars stuff, and the shows came out, and now every single Star Wars book is a potential key now, which is nuts. And the lore on Star Wars is way beyond what I can handle. I love the Star Wars movies, I watch them, but when it comes to, like, the Dark Horse stuff, the Marvel stuff, the IDW, like it just, and they branch off so many, it's, beyond crazy to handle, like, oh, it's the first person, this person, there's this person. I can't, it's too much for me. But this was definitely a book. I think if you had it in high grade, I would say now would be the time to sell it, especially if you're not really attached to it, and you're willing to sell that nice high grade copy and get yourself a low grade, like mid to low grade copy, just so you have it. If you are like that collector that's like, oh, I just want to have it in the collection, you have a 9.4 or 9.6 or whatever, and it's selling for ridiculous money, 2,000, 3,000, whatever the hell it is. It's just crazy. Sell it and then buy a 5.5 or something like that. You still have it. It still presents well. Yeah. And, it's fine, and it's in your collection. But yeah, I mean, for me too, like, it's one of those things where, like, it'd be nice to have it. But if I don't, it's not killing me. Right. So if I had a nice high grade of this, I'd probably move it as well. You can wait for another show to pop up or something like that and then build the hype again. But I mean, the hype is still there. This book is still going for crazy money. So, like, if you have a high grade and you're not attached to it, it's not a part of your childhood, and you still need it, I would say move it and buy a low grade copy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Star Wars is part of everybody's childhood. They grow up probably around the time we grew up, but, like, I love the movies, but I'm not good. It wasn't attached to a comic book for me. Same
here.
It's funny because I had 3 copies of this book, and I sold them all to Ali at Elite 11 Comics, and he got me for all of them. So he got some great deals right before, like, it took off. So he must have known that they were going to go nuts. But good for Ali. He does a lot for everybody out there.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I mean, we've all done that, right? We've all sold the book a month ahead of time, and all of a sudden it spikes, goes crazy, and, like, well, that sucked. But I mean, in the long run, it's like, okay, well, if you made your money, right, and you made your profit off of it, and somebody bought it, and now they got a chance to make profit off of it, hey, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's the way it goes. It's the comic book market. It's like the stock market, right? I mean, you either sold too early, sold too late. It is what it is. And I've held on to books too long, and the spec has gone by, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, it jumped up to $100 book, and I held on to it, and I didn't sell, and now it's a $20 book. I'm like, oh, crap. It's like, and you hope for maybe something to bounce back, but
like I said, I think you hit it on the head. If you're a collector and that's something that you're into, you're going to hang on to it. If you're not, you're going to let it go.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next one. Another big one. You ready?
All right.
I got a lot of big stuff on here only because I'm with the market where it is right now. I think everything needs to be talked about.
Oh,
I'm going to let you go first.
This one hurts my heart. This one hurts. I had this copy. I finally attained the copy. It was a 4.0 restored copy. I was like, didn't care. I just wanted it. And, my situation changed as far as, like, collecting goes. And, currently I have some other goals in mind that I'm trying to attain, and I'm using comic books to kind of attain those goals. And this was one of the books that I felt like, okay, I can sell it for a good price, and it'll help me, get closer to my goals, and it'll move quick because it's actually Giant Size X-Men. Everybody's looking for this book. And so I sold it. I doubled my money from when I bought it. So I was like, that's fine. I made profit on it. And literally 2 months later, maybe a month and a half, 2 months later, the book skyrocketed to, astronomical numbers. Even a restored copy is still on the 4.0 is going for like almost $4,000 or whatever. It's just mind boggling. I'm like, what? Just held on for 1 more month or whatever. I was like, yeah. But again, it's one of those things where it's situation, right? I mean, depending on the timing and the situation of what you're trying to do, and again, I made my profit on it. I'm happy that somebody was able to attain this goal or their grail if they wanted it. But this is a book that honestly, it's still going up and it's still going crazy, but I still think it has room to go up more. Only because the X-Men haven't even made it to the MCU yet. And just them acquiring the rights to X-Men, everything X-Men is just exploding. And this is kind of like, this is the team that I feel like they would potentially use, right? I don't think they'll go back and use like that original like Beast and Angel and Jean Grey. I think it's too old. A lot of the characters for mainstream, a lot of people don't know, but they do know, Wolverine. They know Storm. They knew the younger kind of like characters and stuff. And I think if it might be a mesh of both. You'll have still Cyclops and all that stuff, but I think this team, they'll probably use some form of this team. And I honestly think that this book still has room to grow. I mean, I'd probably hold on to this. If you're looking for that big bang and big spike, I'd say hold. Wait for it. Just the hint, the word mutant or any X gene or something, just any little hint in a movie or TV show, this book will absolutely go, through the roof. But I'd say right now this is a hold. Even though I lost mine, but I'd say this is a hold if you have it, because it's going crazy.
So you'd still buy it though if you could?
You know what? If I had a chance to buy a nice like mid-grade like raw copy, that's not like ridiculously crazy, I'd probably still scoop it up. If you can find it in the wild and it's a decent price and the condition looks okay, I'd say scoop it up. Because it's gonna still go up. I think it still has a chance.
To me, this is a hard one because, as you said, it's gone insane. And some of the books that I'm going to show you, the same thing. Like that's why I have them on here, because it needs to be talked about.
Yep.
But like I just saw somebody post like a 9 something went for over $20,000 for this book recently, and it wasn't even a 9.8. Obviously, it was like 9.2, 9.4, whatever it was, for a Bronze Age book. And it's not even the first appearance of X-Men; it's the first appearance of the new X-Men.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, I'm going to show you something. You just hit the nail right in the head. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Because you just said you'd buy a raw copy. It was only for the right price, and that's exactly what I did. Like I wouldn't be going out and buying, like, spending ridiculous money.
No.
For so to me, this is a hold if you have it.
Yep.
If you have it, I definitely wouldn't sell it. But to go out and buy it right now, I don't know. It's still, like you said, it's still going to go nuts once they hint to anything in the movies. But I don't know if I'm going to go out there and spend like $8 to $10,000 on a book.
Yeah,
that's from the Bronze Age. That's, I mean, you saw that Ghost Rider book went for $264,000.
Woo!
That's crazy to me.
That was insane. That it was what they just say. It was the highest Bronze Age book sold. That it broke the record for highest. $264,000 is. I'd have to mortgage my house.
Yeah, most people would. I think 98% of the people out there in the world would.
It's crazy.
That's Ghost Rider. That's not like I think there are more X-Men fans out there than Ghost Rider fans. I mean, I think Ghost Rider is awesome, but what would this book go for at a 9.8 then?
Oh yeah, I like I said, like you said, if you have it, hold. I'd say hold. If you're able to buy an affordable copy. And I would say, and when I say affordable, I mean a raw copy, because getting a graded copy, it might have passed you by. But if you can find a nice affordable raw copy that's in good condition, that it's within your price range, obviously don't go crazy and blow your rent money on it. But if you can afford it and there's a nice copy, I'd say still get it, because there's still room on this book. I mean, it's gone crazy, but I still feel there's more room for it, which is nuts to say.
It is, right? Especially for a Bronze Age book. And I think with everything in the Silver Age going ape shit, that you kind of, that's where everybody's going to right now. So like all the bronze keys are gone.
Yeah, you could see the progression of it, right? You know, I mean, when people get bought out of a certain grade or a certain tier, like, okay, I can't do Silver Age anymore, right? I can't buy any of those Silver Age keys because they're just going through the damn roof, can't afford it. Okay, well, what's the next best thing? Well, I can get a Bronze Age key and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, now these are starting to spike up. Now I have to go to modern keys, and it's like you have to keep going down the line because it just keeps going crazy.
Speaking of modern keys, are you ready for the next one?
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Oh man, yes.
I'll let you start with this one too, because I'm not too familiar with this book, but I know when I looked up the prices, when I tried to get into it and read it, it was too late for me to go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So this book, I was on the train on this book early on, right? I had this copy, first print, right off the shelf. And my copy was not the greatest copy, right? It had a little tear in the bottom. So it wasn't going to be a 9.8 by any means. But I think I sold my copy. I still sold it for, I think, over $100 or something like that. But I had the Jay Lee covers, like the red cover of this. So I still have that one. I still have an issue number 1. But I ended up selling like, my 4th print and all the it's 1 through 6. I sold all of them, early on for, maybe 200 something bucks or whatever, the entire set, which now that set goes for ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
This book, if you, again, this is one of those books, I think if you had it and you were on the train from the very beginning, I say hold, only because Boom Studios has that deal with Netflix or whoever it is now that they can basically option almost any book that they do. If this, and they already talked about maybe this potentially being optioned, and if there's any kind of, I know it might be a year from now, whatever it is, because you option something, and a year from now, 2 years from now, you get an actual script or whatever. But if there's ever a casting, talk of a trailer or anything that they mention of this book will explode again, and it's still going up. The prices on this are absolutely ridiculous for a modern book. Literally just came out a year, 2 years ago, whatever it is, and a 9.8 for this is selling for $1,000. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, if you're trying to jump on the train now, I say it's too late. Unless you can find it in the wild and somebody just has it on the shelf or something like that and don't know about it. But yeah, you might be late, but if you have it, I say hold, because this could potentially be a pretty good show. If they want to do like a nice little show on it, or if they want to do just a nice tidy movie. But yeah, and then the popularity of this is kind of going through the roof. The story is actually a pretty good story. And they're still going on with it, and they're up to like 17 now or something like that. But yeah, if you have this book, I'd say hold. If you have multiple copies, you could probably move 1 or 2 so you can pick up some other books. But yeah, this book was just absolutely ridiculously crazy. Everything with this title, any printing, first, second, third, fourth, whatever printing you have, they're all going through the damn roof. So if you have them, I say hold. If you have multiple copies, let a couple go. Yeah. Keep one for yourself. But yeah, this book, I say hold, man. It's too hot right now. Unless you need the money.
Yeah, I agree. To get into this, go out there and buy this book now, I think it's too late. I think if you do have it, absolutely hold it, because I think this book is perfect for a show. I don't know, because to do a movie, you'd have to do multiple sequels to get everything they need to get out of it. So a perfect show would be like, the Walking Dead type of thing, and you kind of play it out from there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's too late to buy it. I looked into it. It's over my head. I'm gonna have to wait for trade paperbacks and stuff. So
yeah,
either way.
They had they were releasing a trade or like a hardcover, and it had the first 15 issues.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I bought that just because like I like the story. So I'm like, I have that to read. And then if I ever happen to pick up some floppies along the way, that's fine. But I'll have the whole story, if anything. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, if you're trying to get into it now, you're too late.
I agree with you. All right. So what should I pick from here? I have a total of 10. So if we have enough time, I know we said about an hour. which we're in good shape. It's almost 2:30. All right, let's go to this one. You ready?
Yeah, we just had somebody Unruly. Of course, Unruly pre-ordered the hard copy. Of course you did.
Of
It's
course.
an indie book. It's an indie book, Unruly. Of course you did.
So let's catch up on the chat. We have a few guys in here. Rye guy, I know he's in here. He was going to be on here, but he wasn't feeling too great today. Felix, what's going on, bro? Always hanging out. I appreciate that.
What on, man?
He said the entire Star Wars run and sold it in the 90s. He's still haunting him.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh,
every book has gone nuts right now.
So many books in that run are just ridiculous. Oh man.
Woo. All right. So back to this book, because now that the Avengers is not over. They're going to make more movies, but the original cast is kind of put to bed for the most part.
Yep.
I think the hardcore investor is probably the hardcore collector is going to hang on to this book no matter what, because it is sentimental to them.
Yep.
But from an investment point, I think it's a sell at this point. I don't see them going further and bringing. I would love them to bring Tony Stark back at some point, especially for Secret Wars. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think if you're not a hardcore, sentimental collector, like I have an Avengers one, and I am a sentimental collector, so it probably will be in my collection forever. But if you're not, I think it's a sell. If it hasn't really gone crazy, right? It's always been the forgotten book. It's not that expensive, so I still think you could find one in low grade for not too bad if you wanted one. So if you did want to buy it and put it in your collection, I still think that's fine as well. But to me, it's a sell as an investment thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you were trying to hold this, like you said, I definitely think it's a sell as well. If you're trying to pick it up because you just want it in your collection, it's a key issue. First Avengers, stuff like that. It's a nice Silver Age key. Definitely pick it up if you have the means to do it. If you want it in your personal collection, and you don't need a high grade by any means, right? Nice low grade 2.5 still presents well 2.0.
Most of my Silver Age stuff is like low grade stuff, which is fine by me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as long as it presents well, who cares, right? I mean, I could have a tear in the back. I don't give a shit. I'm presenting the front of the book. So, I mean, if you can get this a nice low grade, sure. I'd say pick it up. But yeah, definitely, there's not going to be much with this team anymore, right? Most of these guys are going to be solo movies, if anything. Obviously Iron Man's gone. Hulk, who knows if we're going to get anything from him. Thor's, getting his own stuff. Ant-Man, those guys. But yeah, as a team going forward, they're probably moving more towards like, the new Avengers, younger Avengers, or whatever it is. So we're not going to really see this team anymore. I mean, as an investment, if you're going to go for based on the movie and spec, it's not going to do you any good. If you're doing it for the sentimental reason, you're still going to have those hardcore fans that still want to get it because it's a nice Silver Age key. But yeah, it's not going to make you much, especially if you bought into it high. Yeah, you're not going to make much money on it. You might break even. You might even lose a little bit. So I would definitely say sell to if it's a book that you really don't need, or if it's not something that fits in your collection anymore. But if you're collecting it because you're a collector, you like to collect keys or whatever, now will probably be a good time to actually try to scoop this up.
I agree with you.
Great.
I agree. So while we're on this topic, let me ask you a personal question. Would you rather have like a 9.8 modern key or a low grade Silver Age key like that?
Honestly, I'd get a nice presenting low grade Silver Age key over a modern book. I just feel like modern books are overly printed, right? You look at Ultimate Fallout 4, for example, right? That book went through the roof, went crazy, but it's a modern book, and there's plenty of them out there, right? You see Instagram posts all the time. Oh, look at the 150 bagged copies that I still found somewhere, and it's like, what the hell? Like they come out everywhere, and I feel like you can still find those where these nice presenting Silver Age books, they're going to be harder and harder to find. They're just not out there in the wild. And if you can find a nice one for an affordable price, I always go for that all the time.
I'm with you. I'm the same way.
A nice Silver Age, book, a nice key book. I mean, I'd take, Amazing Fantasy 15.5 over any modern 9.8 right now. Like that's a grail, to me. And I don't give. Hey, the cover's on it, and I'm good. I got the book like that. I'm good.
It's funny you just said that. Would you take a coverless one?
Honestly, I might still take a coverless one.
I might do it too.
if the book is big enough, right? If it's one of those, monster books, yeah, definitely, I'd still take a coverless one.
I would too. I'm with you on that. It's funny because I saw somebody post on Instagram. They traded a Hulk 1 that was signed by Stan Lee for a Hulk 181, a high grade. But it was a 0.5 Hulk 1 signed by Stan Lee, and they traded it for a high grade Hulk 181. I don't remember the grade on the 181, but that's a tough one for me because I probably would have stayed with the Hulk 1.
That's tough for me too. I mean, again, you can see, the statue there. I mean, that's a replica. I don't have the original. That's the replica copy.
It's funny. I have the same exact statue. By the way, that's the big one. I have a smaller one. That's the who makes that one?
The Sideshow.
I wanted that one, and then I saw the price. I'm like, I can't do it. So I went with like a $100 one I got from China or whatever it was. So
okay. Yeah. So I said, I mean, yeah, I got that, but yeah, and it's tough because I love that book, right? I love the Hulk book. I love, his first appearance and stuff like that. Questionable, whatever you want to, that whole 180, 181 deal. But that book is a big book. But Hulk #1,
it's rare. It's the rarest of the Silver Age ones. So
it's a rare book, and to be signed by Stan Lee, which you cannot get that anymore, right? Yep. Obviously, Stan passed, so you're not getting any more Stan signatures. So for that book, that rare to be signed, yeah, no, I'm keeping that Hulk 1.
That's why I questioned it when I saw it. I'm like, I wouldn't have done that because there's a lot of 181s out there. There's a lot of them.
There is. I'm keeping that Hulk. I'm sorry. I mean, signed by Stan Lee. Yeah, I'm keeping the Hulk.
All right, so that kind of leads me into the next book because there's a lot of this book out there and it's still gone mind-boggling expensive. All right.
Oh, yes.
There's a ton of this book out there. Copies everywhere, but it is a fortune. I think a 9.8 is over $9,000 now.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And if it's a newsstand copy, it's even more. It's five figures.
Yeah.
Yeah. This book is nuts. And like you said, it's the highest graded copy on the CGC census, right? There's the most copies of any other book on there. Just because it's so iconic. Everybody knows it. The minute you see it, you know exactly what it is. It's been, homage to death, right? Cover swipe to death. Like, so many other things did it. But honestly, this is another book that I have a 9.6 of this book, right? And I still question whether, I should potentially crack it, try to get a 9.8 or just sell it the way it is, and maybe get a lower grade. But it's a book that I grew up with, right? It's one of those books where when I started collecting, I remember buying this book raw, off the shelf and stuff like that. And I sold it years ago, or, when I sold my whole collection before. So it's one of those books that means a lot to me. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, but it's tough. This one is a tough one, and it's going to be hard because do you need the money, or is there still potential for this book to go up? Maybe, is this the height of it? Because there is so many copies. But yeah, I mean, this one to me is a tough one because I struggle with it, right? Like I said, I have a copy of it and I'm just like, should I move this thing? Because the prices are ridiculous.
They're insane. If you have a 9.8, I think you have to sell it. How could you turn down $10,000 for a book that there's so many copies, and it's just, how could you turn down $10,000? You can't do it. Because like I said, if you're a collector, you can, and I have a 9.2 signed by Todd McFarlane, and I picked that book up for $400. At that time, I thought it was a lot of money. And now I'm looking at it like, holy shit, should I sell this?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
This book got me back, and that whole Todd McFarlane run back in the 90s kind of got me back into collecting when I was a kid. So it is very sentimental. Like you, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. But I look at the price and I'm like, this is a freaking, there's a million copies of this book out there, and they want so much money for it. If you have a 9.6, you know what? I'd be tempted to crack that and press it and send it just for the amount of money you could get for it.
Yeah, I know that's my whole thing. I'm looking at it. I'm like, and like you said, right? If I looked it over, right, and maybe I need to look at it a little more to see if it does have the potential to become a 9.8. But if it does, right? I mean, I look at it this way, right? I can, clean it, press it, try to submit it, try to turn it into a 9.8. If it does come back a 9.8, in my you know, what I'm going through, I'm probably going to sell it.
Yeah.
If it comes back at 9.6, maybe I keep it. I don't know, but I can sell it at a 9.8. You know, like you said, 10 grand, 9 grand, whatever it is. And I can always turn back around and buy a nice 9.0 copy for
That's,
you know,
I was just going to read
$bucks or something like that. You know what I mean? It's crazy because everybody wants that 9.8, 9.6.
Yeah.
They want those high grades, but a 9.2, a 9.0 is a respectable grade.
No.
It presents awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I have it in the collection, and I can still make that money, make that profit, you know, do what I need to do, and still buy the book and have it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you have if you have a 9.8, I'd say it's a sell that bad boy.
Really says problem with selling is would you be able to afford replacing it? That's the thing. Like if you're okay with having a not a 9.8 grade, then I would definitely sell it. If you're not okay with it, then all right.
Yeah.
To me, we're not gonna, you know, we're not going to the grave with these things. So
yeah,
I'm
like you said, you know, like you know, Matt, the boy who has 7, right? I mean, obviously his collection is mostly 9.8s, right? I mean, he has a just ridiculous collection. But you know, if you're not tied down, or you're not like, hey, I want the book, but I don't need it in a 9.8, right? I just want it in my collection. And if you have a 9.8 and the prices are just ridiculous, like 10 grand is a lot of money. Like,
yeah,
people don't understand that. Right? Like, I'm not rich, right? By any means, right? I you know, I sell things to buy other things, but that's a lot of money. That can help out a lot of people in a pinch or whatever it is. If like you need to do something, you know, we have, as collectors, we have that luxury, right? If you know, we fall in a little bit of hard times and we need to do something, we could sell a few books. It'll hurt like hell because it took us a while to get it, but you know, we can make some quick money pretty quick, especially with some of these books, and the way the prices are just like astronomical right now. But yeah, like you said, I think if you have a 9.8 of this book, yeah, and you're not really attached to it, and you're not attached to that 9.8 label, hey, go for it, and then go back and try to buy a 9.0 or 9.2 for $1,000. I mean, and you still made 9 grand profit. Like it just makes sense to me, especially if you just want the book. But if you're into that 9.8, then it's going to be a little tough. Then I'd say, for your situation, you know, probably hold, you know, give it to a kid so they sell it when you pass on, so you're not hurting as much. But yeah, I mean, if you're not tied down to the 9.8, that's just too much money to pass up.
I agree with you. So Unruly said he'd the Ultimate Fallout 4 1 in 25 9.8 Djevik over a 0.5 AF-15 all day. I don't know. I know there's a lot of AF-15 copies out there, and a Djevik is hard to find.
That's a hard,
I don't know if I would do that.
That's a hard one. That 9.8, the prices on that book for 9.8 is absolutely mind-boggling. I know. I don't know. The last one was, you know, I want to say it was like 20 in the 20 grand range or something nonsense, like for a modern book. I know it's hard, and I know they didn't have too many of them because it's a 1 in 25, and you know who was getting an Ultimate Fallout 4 and who's ordering 4 copies of this thing, or 25 copies to get 1. But Jesus, like I can't see. Me personally, I can't see myself spending that much money on a modern book. I know it's a raw book. I know it's a rare book to get. But spending that much on a modern book, no, I can't personally. I mean, and if I had it, that might be a book I'd sell for 20 grand. That book is going. I'm sorry, and then I'll just get the regular cover of Ultimate Fallout 4.
It's all what you like, right? It's all like what you're into, what you collect, how you collect.
It's a beautiful cover, and I mean,
it is. It really is. Silver Age Dave is in the house, dude.
Hey,
Dave, if you are listening to this, dude, you are one of the guys that got me back into this hobby, watching your videos. So I want to thank you for that you're in the chat, hanging out with us, and watching your stuff is just amazing. So thank you to Dave.
Dave is awesome. He actually went to, he was in Chicago one time, and he was like going around, and he was like traveling, and he went to, there's a larger comic book store out there. And he went, and the owner like showed him around and went to like the back and all this other stuff. So I actually visited Chicago, went to go visit my brother out there. And when I was out there, I was like, hey, I need to go to this store, right? I mean, I saw, you know, Silver Age Dave, he went, the store was crazy, and I need to go check it out. So when we went, it was only me and my brother. The store just opened. Nobody was there. And I'm like, hey, you know, I came, I saw Silver Age Dave was here and stuff like that. And One Stop Comics. And he's like, oh yeah, I know Dave. I remember Dave. And I showed him around, and he actually showed us around and took us to the back and showed us all the books and stuff like that. And it was awesome. I was like, yeah, this is so cool. But you know, I do the name drop in there, and I got a backdoor view as well. So it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to have somebody on my stream is because I don't know a lot of the guys out there in the community. Like, yeah, like I'll message with Reggie sometimes on Instagram or a couple other people, but I haven't really gone out and said, oh, I've spent some time with this person on through chat or at a show. So I'm finally, like, about a month ago, Erod was at one of the shows I was at, but he was talking a deal. I don't want to bother him. So, like, part of the reason of doing this is to kind of get to know some of the guys and gals out there that I don't.
Definitely.
All right. Next book. You ready?
Go for it.
We got 4 more.
Woo!
I'm going to start with this book because
go for it.
I own a copy of this book, but it is so hard to find a copy of this book that is not destroyed. And when I say destroyed, I have a 1.5 copy that I could barely find that one.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, as everybody knows, and I'm a huge classic Spider-Man villain fan. Like some of my favorites are Sandman, Doc Ock, Kraven, Electro, Mysterio, all the guys that are in the Sinister Six. So to me, this book will always hold sentimental value. And when I was able to purchase it, I was super happy. But anything over a ridiculously low grade is kind of through the roof. And now, of course, with No Way Home, everybody's speculating that Sinister Six is coming, and even though they're kind of rehashing the villains, which kind of is disappointing to me because I was hoping to see a redone Doc Ock. I was hoping to see a redone Electro, but I don't think we're going to get that. From the sentimental point, I'll never get rid of this book but I think it's too late to buy this book unless you can find a really nice low grade copy. But I will say this: there's a lot of Canadian issues for this book out there, which when I first started looking for a copy, I found out. And the back cover is totally blank. That's how you could tell if anybody's out there who's looking at it. But to me, this is definitely a hold. I wouldn't go out there and buy it right now. But if you have a higher grade copy that is so hard to find, now might be the right time to kind of let it go. Or at least when we get that next trailer, the first trailer that comes out.
Yeah. This is I feel like this is a big book that fell under the radar for a long time, right? It's everybody was looking for those individual first appearances, but like that first team, Sinister Six, the fact that it was an annual and stuff like that, most people weren't collecting annuals. It's a square bound book, which is really tough to get in high grade. And if you, like you said, you did find this, it was read to all hell. People read it, 137 times. It was beat to shit. Cover was almost ripped off.
And it's a white cover. It's filthy.
And it's a white cover. Most of the time you see a copy of this thing that, has foxing and all that other stuff on it. And it's such a great book, but it fell under the wayside for so long. And now when they started mentioning it, if you have this book already, I'm with you. It's a hold for me. Especially once you start seeing these characters and they start talking about, and they actually mention the Sinister Six or whatever, especially in this multiverse and stuff. This is definitely a good book to hold. If you have a high grade copy, it's going to be, for me, it would be tough to not let it go, right? Especially when you start seeing these prices of these high grade copies. It's ridiculous. But then you run the risk of maybe not finding this book because it is so hard to find. And the lower grade copies are starting to like spike like crazy. But you have to weigh how much you can get for your copy, and then it's like, okay, if I can sell this for whatever crazy number, I can afford this 1.0, 2.5 or whatever, and I still make my money, but I still have the copy. Especially if you have like a 9.0 or something crazy like that, because I know there's people out there that have some serious high grades of this, and it's just bonkers. It's like, hey, I can get 25 grand for this thing, and this copy down here is like $2 grand. Yeah, like I'll sell this, get this book, and I still made a nice chunk of change that I can do something else with. But yeah, this is if you have it, hold. If you can find it cheap, I definitely say pick it up if you can. And if you have a high grade and you're not attached to it, and you're like, hey, you know what, I think I can find a nice low grade copy, and you're willing to deal with a low grade copy, yeah, I say sell, man. If you have,
I think as long as it presents well and it's not missing anything, I think a low grade is fine. But like it's really expensive now, that book in high grade. It's kind of crazy.
It's nuts. That one's nuts.
All right,
here we go.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. All right. I'll let you start with this one.
Oh, all right. This is another book. I have this book as well, but I have it in a 9.0. I purchased this book, years back, before it really like spiked like crazy. I actually bought a copy from England. It was a U.S. copy, but I purchased from overseas. The guy sent it over. This was one of the first books that I got graded from CGC, and this was before cleaning and pressing was like a big thing. This was over 10 years ago and stuff. 15 years ago. It was one of the first ones I submitted in a nice bunch, and never got it cleaned, never got it pressed, and it came back a 9.0. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this might be a book to crack out, and clean and press, and try to get a higher grade, because 9.8s, 9.8s are going for pretty good money. With the another trailer for Suicide Squad coming out, she's back in the limelight again. This is one of those books that kind of like has like a nice little roller coaster. When there's no mention of her, no nothing, it kind of like dips, and you can kind of buy in pretty quick. But anytime there's a movie or anything pops up with her, just starts spiking again. But I feel like this is a book that you can find this book. There's plenty of copies of this book out there, if you're willing to like wait and hold on it. But or if you don't mind a like lower high grade, right? If you don't mind like a 9.0 or 9.2 or something like that, if you're not looking for that 9.8 copy, if you have it, honestly, I think if it's not extremely high grade, like a 9.8 or a 9.6, you're not going to get much for it, right? Because it's a modern book. A lot of people are trying to get that 9.8 on this, unless it's like a newsstand copy or something like that or whatever. But if you have it and it's not like extremely high grade, I say hold. She's a popular character and stuff like that, but it's not going to really do much for you, unless you bought in low and you bought it off the shelf, or found it for cheap. But if you have a high grade, and you're willing to come down, the trailer's out for the Suicide Squad, it kind of bounced back up. You might be able to get some pretty good bucks for it. But yeah, this is a book that it's tough. I mean, I think that mid-range grade, if you have it, hold it, because I don't think you're gonna make much on it. You're really only gonna make much on this if you have a 9.8 copy, or if you have like a 9.6 newsstand or something like that.
Unruly says he likes Harley, but he has no desire to own this. I'm not in that realm, but I will say this: like, if Warner Brothers ever got their crap together, this would be a lot more expensive than it is.
Yeah,
and because we keep seeing bad movies with this character put out, it's not doing justice to the book itself. Because I think it's a cool character. I love the cartoon when I was growing up with her first appearance in there. I thought that was great.
Exactly.
So the movies got on track. I think this book could go, but I've been around too long to to kind of start jumping out there now.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, Warner Brothers and DC, they've done such a bad job with their movies, and it's not like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you're a Marvel fanboy or you're a DC fan. It's, as comic book collectors, we like everything, right? We say, I don't give a shit what it is. I just want a good comic book movie. And the fact that they're just like, for them, they feel like it's more like a money grab, and they're just trying to like catch up with Marvel, and instead of putting out something good.
But those Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies were awesome. They're some of my favorite comic book movies, and I don't know why they strayed away from doing that type of movie, because they were phenomenal. Exactly.
And I think it's one of those things where they were behind the 8 ball, right? They were trying to catch up to Marvel, and they're like, okay, we're gonna do the same thing, right? We're gonna make our own universe, so we're gonna do this, and they just pumped out a crap ton of movies without ever going back into like the source material of these characters. And that's what kind of bit them in the ass, right? It's like, you're throwing all these characters out there, you're not developing them correctly, and not giving the audience time to get to know them, right? Where Marvel did the same thing. They're like, hey, this character, there's their backstory, and you got a chance to, feel for them and like them over a course of a bunch of movies, where it's like, hey, here's 4 first appearances in this one movie. We're going to give each of them 20 minutes and whatever. Okay, now they're a team. And it's like, no, you need to develop each one. And they didn't do that very well. It's like, oh, come on, guys.
I agree with you. I thought the Justice League and they were all just god awful. So. And listen, I'm a huge Batman fan, and for me to say that, like, I went from Christopher Nolan, which was those movies were pretty much perfect in my opinion, to go to that is just
exactly. I know it hurts, right? As a comic book fan and stuff like that, you know, it hurts to see that because we don't want them to fail, right? We want these movies to be good. That's the whole point.
And now, like, you're seeing all that stuff with the new Batman movie that's delayed, and it looks awful. I hate to say it, but it looks terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, 2 more, and this one's probably gonna upset some people, but here we go.
Nice. Woo! Yeah.
So I'm gonna take this one if you don't mind. I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan when I was growing up. I love the cartoon. I had all the figures when I was growing up, but I know this book is really hard to find. The first prints are like so minimal, and that's why it's through the roof. But great comic book. Second printing, still a lot of money. You know, 9.6 is like $3,000, and then or whatever 9.4 is like $3,000, and then you have the third printing. You could probably have anywhere between $500 and $1,000. This is a fortune. This comic book, the first printing, and even the second printing is a lot of money. I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I can't see spending the amount of money it costs to own a first print of this book. To me, if I have one, I'm probably going to sell it. How much higher can this go? I mean, they've done TV shows, they've done movies, I don't know. To me, I'm saying I would sell it unless it's like a sentimental thing. You're a collector, you want to own it, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's tough. Like you said, I mean, a lot of us are Turtles fans, right? And we grew up in that time frame when they came out and they just bursted onto the scene. You know, we got the toys and the costumes and all that nonsense. But the comics themselves, right? I mean, they were, you know, the first printing of this was really, you know, out there. These guys, you know, Peter Laird and stuff like that, they went out, and Kevin Eastman, they sold this book, first prints, to comic book stores themselves, right? They actually went into stores and were like, hey, can you buy this book from us and sell it for us? And, you know, stuff like that. They were trying to like sell this. And, you know, even my local shop here had 20 copies of it when it first came out, you know, in 85 or whatever, and stuff like that. And, you know, obviously they sold them all and stuff. And it's like, hey, look, we sold them all for cover price. And now, you know, the first printings are, you know, just ridiculous in high grade. The paper quality was crap. You know, it was just so bad, and it's hard, the all blacks, and it was just really bad to get this in extremely high grade. And but yeah, I mean, like you said, if you're a huge Turtles fan and this is like one of your holy grails and you're trying to obtain a first, you know, printing of it regardless of the grade, and you're like, I don't care if it's a 3.0 whatever, I just want a first printing, by all means, if you have the means for it, go for it. But yeah, if you have a high grade copy of this, yeah, I mean, I'm on the sell. I mean, myself, I mean, I love the Turtles too, but you know, the popularity is high right now too, with the new story and stuff like that. Doing very well. You know, the new with IDW or whatever, their run on it, they're actually doing pretty well. But yeah, I mean, if you're not trying to collect, you know, every Turtles book or whatever it is, and you just happen to have it in high grade, yeah, man, it's way too much money, you know, to pass up. Again, it is a blue chip book, right? Especially first print, right? That's, you know, people are looking for that. But, you know, how many non-Turtle fans are really looking for this book in first print, right? You know, I'm not one, like, I love the Turtles, but I'm not one to go out, and that's not a book that's on my list to pick up as a first print, right? Yeah. I'm not looking for that. I know it's complete out of my price range and everything, stuff like that. So it's not even on my radar. Yeah. But it's going to be hard, right? To kind of have like the outside collector trying to collect that, right? Because they have all these other things. It's mostly like hardcore Turtles fans that are really going to go after these first prints. So if you have one and you're not that hardcore Turtles fan and it's high grade, now might be the time to let that thing go, man. Because yeah, the prices on that are just. I
forgot I could put the comments on the screen. So there you go. He makes a good point, because there's only 3,000 first prints, and that is really, really scarce. I do think you'll always find a buyer for that book. And it's funny because I was on a live stream a couple of months ago and a live claim sale, and you know, I'm checking the books, whatever, and one of the TMNT first print goes up, and the guy nonchalantly just spends like, 5 figures on that book, like a claim, like holy Christmas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was.
Oh no, that book, you will find a buyer, right? Because there is this group of Turtles, collectors that are trying to get every Turtles key book, and that's one of those especially in a high grade, or really any grade for that matter, as long as it's the first print, and people will just buy it instantly. There's no hesitation. There's nothing. I know Kavi, Comic Books NYC, has his copy. He bought his first print, and I want to say it's an 8.0, which is
that's so good.
Ridiculous. Like even at 8.0, the prices on that you see, and you're like, what? Like it's crazy. But yeah, no, that book, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, you'll always find a buyer for it because that Turtles group, people are willing to spend that money for it. For that first print, yeah, those. So, and like I said, if you're not tied to it, and you want to get rid of it, you have a nice high grade. Yeah,
I'm gonna pose a question to everybody out there in the chat, everybody out there on YouTube. If you guys watching this on the rewind, would you rather have a TMNT 1 first print high grade or a low grade AF-15? You guys let me know what you think down in the chat, because that's I mean, if you're a really big Turtles fan, that's a hard one. If you're not a Spider-Man fan, obviously that's an easy decision. But if you like both, I grew up a Spider-Man fan. I like the Turtles too, but that's a good question, everybody out there. If what would you do? I mean, there's a lot of AF-15s out there. There's not like 3,000 like TMNT 1s first prints. That's a tough question, even from an investor standpoint.
Yeah,
that's a tough question. So
that is a tough
let me know what you think down in the chat. All right, we're on the last book. You ready?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Somebody asked Bomba Man 31 asked about Hulk 181, but I wasn't planning to do that today. But I was planning to do a 180.
Oh, there you go.
I didn't want to throw a 181 up because obviously it's a fortune. Forget that. But
yeah,
I wanted to have a conversation about this. Is obviously the big fight is between Cameo, first full appearance.
Yeah.
Is this book a buy? Is this a buy over the 181? Is it a sell over the 181? Because there's a lot of I get people getting aggravated at me through chat. Like, what did everybody complaining that 181 is the first appearance when 180 should be the first appearance? Like, some people get pretty nasty out there. But with the amount that this book costs now, is it better to put your money towards a 181, or is this still to pick up this book in mid to high grade?
This book personally, I think it's a buy, right? If you can find a nice, high grade copy, affordable copy of this, even a nice, mid grade copy of this, I say buy, right? I know that whole debate of the 180, 181 thing, and it gets a little crazy, right? People, we're talking about, fictional characters and books like that. It's like, come on, guys, right? Like, seriously, all it is, it's paper, right? Best to have both. Exactly.
That's why I threw it up there, because she's right.
I mean, having both of them, obviously, and then don't forget 182, right? I mean, you still need to throw that in there, whatever third appearance or something like that, But yeah, I mean, I think it's still a good book to have, regardless of if you think it's his cameo, it's his first appearance, whatever, right? If like, oh no, it's his first full appearance, or he uses words, or he actually announces his name, or he's on the cover and stuff like that. There's so many things you can debate. What's what. It's like, okay, yeah, he's on the back cover, he mentions his name, but does he change the outcome of the story in any way, right? Does he have any effect on the story, right? If you took that page out, right, and just put it into 181, right, would 180 it wouldn't matter, right? It wouldn't change the story.
That's actually that's a great point, because I haven't heard anybody argue that point of it yet. So that's a great point, because you could say the same thing for Venom. It's the same thing with 299. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah, so now I can say if I took that last page, right, introduces himself in the middle, he says this, Wolverine, what, but then he doesn't show up in the story anymore, right? It's like, okay, well, maybe it affected it somehow. But it's at the end, right? The story ended. It had no effect. So if you took that page out, it would do nothing, right? It would do nothing to the story. It's the whole Indiana Jones thing, right? It's like, oh, if you took Indiana Jones out of the fucking movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, they still find the Ark. They still melt themselves even without him, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, people want to argue that, but it's a good book to have just because he still is in the book, right? Regardless of you feel like it's his cameo or his first appearance, he's still in the book. It's a good book to pick up, and it's going up because of that whole argument, right? It's a great book, and it's one of those books that's still affordable because everybody still feels like 181 is the first appearance. You know, he's on the cover. He affects the story in the second one because he actually interacts with both Wendigo and Hulk. So, you know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, if you affect the story, I feel like that's when you're a full appearance, right? Or you're, you know, but if you're making a cameo, you just say your name and you leave, and then everybody's like, who the hell is that guy? It's like, he didn't even fight anybody. He didn't even do anything. He just walked away. That's a cameo, right? I mean, but again, people can say, no, he said more than that. He had 8 word bubbles, and, you know, fine. Yeah, you know, it is what you, but you collect what you want to collect, right? If you want to collect it just because it's part of your PC and you want to have it, fine. If you want to collect it as you're selling it, buy both of them, right? I mean, if you can afford it, buy them both. But, you know, it's a good book to buy. I would like to have it in my PC personally if I had it. I don't, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a buy. I think it's definitely a buy, you know, all day long.
First, I want to say, no one go out there and tear the last page up of Hulk 180. All right, that's the first thing. Just, we don't want to test that theory out, but
do not take that. Don't take that page out.
Yeah, that's the first thing. But I agree with you. Like, I'm a buyer of this book all day long, and it's kind of like a stupid book for me to throw up there. But I wanted to have a discussion about, you know, the first cameo, first whatever. But I also want to throw an interesting out there because this is something that always plagues me as a collector of Silver Age books and first appearance books. Is that would I rather spend the money on a Hulk 180, which it's the first cameo? You know, this discussion, it's a lot. It's gotten up there in price range. A high grade copy is like a few $1,000s. Yep. Would you rather put that money toward a lower grade copy of the 181, which, you know, that's the money book, as I call it? And it's a question I've always asked myself. I find myself asking to myself constantly: do I want to put the money towards that, or do I want to take that money and put it towards what I call the money book? Like, I want this book 100%, but do I want to spend that money or use that money for the first full? So, I mean, does anybody else out there, let me know in the chat. Do you guys have that issue? Like, do you think about that before you pick up books? Because I'm constantly doing that. Like, even with, like, you have a Avengers 4, I have an Avengers 4 as well. What goes through my mind is, this is the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America, but it's not the first appearance of Captain America. So, like, yes, it's sentimental to me. Yes, I want to own it, but that's always in the back of my mind. Like, I'll never be able to afford the first appearance of Captain America.
A Cap 1. There's a handful, if that, of people that can potentially get a low grade copy of Cap 1 in this community, because that book is absolutely insane.
But it is a possibility that if you own a Hulk 180, or if you own a couple other books, that you could, hey, I don't have to buy this. I can get a Hulk 181, even if it's a mid grader or low grader. It's possible. So that's why I posed that question. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and it's tough, right? And again, you know, I think most people in the collecting community, like, if you're trying to get 181, more than likely you're going to get 180, regardless of your stance on if you think one is a cameo, first appearance, whatever. You're trying to get both of them anyway. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Everybody's trying to get both of them. People are like, oh, this 181 is his first appearance, or 180 is. You're getting both. I don't want to hear it. You're trying to get both. But, you know, it is getting tougher, right? The 181 is the money book, right? That's the one that the market and the community has deemed the first full appearance, right? He's on the cover. He affects the story. You know, that's the one that everybody's really going for, right? And that's the one that's going through the roof. Now, what actually happened is it caused 180 to spike as well, because now people are getting priced out of the 181. And you're like, all right, well, if I can't have his first full appearance or whatever, I can have the cameo or whatever. Like, in my mind, I think it's his first appearance or a cameo, whatever. But I can have that one now because it's at least still affordable. And now that one's starting to kind of creep up there as well. Like you said, a nice high grade copy is still going to run you maybe a few thousand on that book now. Whereas, you know, in the past, that was the book that was like, oh yeah, you know, $50 book, whatever, exactly. $100 book in high grade, because nobody cared. Everybody was going for that 181. But now that debate started sparking so much things, and 180 just went ballistic. You know, I'm looking at, 2.0s are still in that 4-figure range, and I'm like, what? Like,
it's mind boggling. So people are like, okay, well, I can't afford that. I can't afford this $400 copy of this book. And then, you know, people are like, okay, well, I'll do that. And then maybe I can sell a few other books that I'm not keen to, and maybe put that towards a nice low grade 181.
And that's
a set.
That's what I think a lot of, that's what I feel. If something's not as important to me, I'd rather put that money towards the book I really want.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how, yeah.
All right. That's it for the 10. So I had a good time, man. This was awesome. I'm glad
you came on the
show. I hope you enjoyed it. No, anytime.
It was great.
I have one question for you though.
Yes.
I'm relegated to my basement in this little room, and I have all my shit like crammed into this little room. But you have a nice open space there. Is that like a bedroom? Is it like a basement, like big room?
It's a basement. It's a like a partial finished basement.
Okay.
And I share this space with my wife. I'm in the back half of the room. She has the front half for her like office and stuff, but mine is in the back. But it's a decent size.
It's a nice setup.
Yeah, I have like built-in shelving, so that's like, and that helps. From not having to have more furniture and stuff like that. So that definitely helped with that.
It's funny because I used to have a bigger room, but I got thrown out of the bigger room into the smaller room. So that's why I asked, because you got a nice setup. It's nice and bright. All the books are there. It looks great. So
that's usually how it goes. I mean, my wife was like, "Oh," he's like, once we got this place, is like, "Yeah, you're going in the basement. Put all your crap right there. This is where it goes." And before she had her set up, she was doing like Zoom meetings and stuff like that for work on my computer. So this was her background. And she's like, I'm sorry for the background. This is my husband's computer. So she has all the work.
I'm sure they loved it. I would love looking at that.
There was a few people, they were like, "Oh, that's awesome." I was like, "Oh, it's such a cool statue." I was like, this is pretty funny.
That is great. All right. So everyone out there on YouTube, thank you guys for watching this video, hanging with us for the past hour and 10 minutes. Everyone in the chat, Unruly, Boomba Man, Rye Guy, Silver Age Dave, and hi, Leo. What's going on, bro? I didn't even see that, man. By the way, he said he'd rather have an AF-15, so I agree with him. But either way, thank you for watching this channel. If you guys haven't checked out Los's channel, I suggest you guys do. And I think most of the guys out there we're friendly with anyway. But check out his channel. He's always putting on good stuff. Hopefully we'll come on and we'll do something else. Maybe do other topics. Maybe I'll jump on your channel next time. That would be awesome.
Definitely. Hell yeah.
And that's it. Subscribe, like, share this video. I always end it with "I'll talk to you soon, man." So thank you for hopping on. Yes, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. I will talk to you soon, bud.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Peace, everybody.
Bye-bye.